Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to another video, and in this video we're going to be continuing on with our Swift programming tutorial series, and in this particular tutorial we are going to be talking about self in Swift. This is going to be a little bit of a short video because self is actually a pretty simple concept, but I remember when I was first learning Swift, when I was first learning programming in general, this idea of self, or this as it's commonly done in other languages, confused the ever-loving heck out of me, and that's primarily because I didn't take the time to truly understand it, right? So I'm going to try to explain this to you. I'm going to try to explain self to you in as basic of terms as possible so you can sort of understand how self works throughout the tutorials and stuff. Future videos such as building iOS, macOS apps and stuff like that in other series will reinforce self for you. But this is just going to be a short explainer video about what self is. Now, in our person class, you remember in our initializer, we are using self.firstname, self.lastname, self.middle-initial. And I mentioned, well, primarily one of the reasons why we're using self is because Swift isn't going to know the difference between the parameter name and the property name because they're the same. And that's true. Right? But there's a little bit more to self here, and that is the fact that self refers to exactly what it says. It's self. It refers to the current instance of the class. So whenever you create a new instance of person, self will refer to that instance of person. And the more instances of person you create, self will refer to each of those individual instances of person in turn, right? So self is self-contained within each instance. So we're saying, retrieve my own first-person property and set it to this. Set my own last name property to this. And set my own middle initial property to this is what we're saying in our initializer there. Right? So that really is all there is to self. It's not exactly a difficult concept, but if you're just learning, yeah, it's going to be a little bit confusing. Especially if you come from a language like JavaScript, where JavaScript's version of self, this, is a little bit more complex, a little bit more confusing than it is in something like Swift or Java or C# or whatever the case may be. This, self, they're the same thing really, just a different name for the keyword. So that pretty much does it for this video on self. Pretty simple stuff. If you still have questions, please make sure to leave a comment down below asking questions. I'm always reading the comments, so you can ask away. Make sure that you also read the documentation on swift.org. If you don't understand self, you can even ask ChatGPT or Google Bard or any other sort of any other resource you can possibly find to try to get an explanation of self that will help you further in understanding it. So thank you all so very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one where we're going to talk about methods.